I'm Karen Gender, and my pronouns are she and her. And this morning, along with our lead minister, the Reverend Krista Taves, welcome to Eliot Chapel. We are a free religious congregation aspiring to the ideal of beloved community. This morning, Suzanne LaLauren, right here, is available for pastoral care. After the service, if something is weighing on your heart, you may speak to her. If you or a little one become restless, there is a feed of the service in Fellowship Hall with lots of room to run. And after the service, there are snacks in Adams Hall. You are welcome to take younger children there or also take them out on the playground on this gorgeous morning. To our guests, thank you for being here. Jenny Anderson is here, right back at the back and giving a little wave. And she is here to answer questions about our congregation or Unitarian Universalism in general after the service. There are guest forms at both entrances to the sanctuary and at the QR code on the screen so that we can stay in touch. And please join us for coffee hour and take a blue cup, and we'll be sure to welcome you. And if you are a member, make sure to notice those with a blue cup and say hello. Our online coffee hour this afternoon is at 1:30. And now, I invite you, as you wish, to join in our welcome today by responding, "You are welcome here," at the end of each statement. If you are brown, black, white, indigenous, APIA, whatever your origins, you are welcome here. If you are an immigrant, a refugee, a person without documentation, you are welcome here. If you believe in God all of the time, some of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. If you have a disability, visible or invisible, or are neurodiverse, you are welcome here. If you have been here 100 times or you just came today, you are welcome here. If you want for nothing or struggle each day to make it through, you are welcome here. No matter whom you love or what your gender identity, you are welcome here. For this is a community of diversity, of love, and of justice, and it is good to be together. And now, may we enter into the spirit of worship. Our symbol is the chalice with the flame representing truth, love, and hope. Our chalice lighting words this morning are by the Reverend Michelle Collins. This flame burns for what might be, for hands that help us up and point to the rising sun, for hearts that whisper, "What if?" For dreams that blanket our imaginations with what might be. May our chalice shine light for our work of becoming. Now please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, "We Will Carry Each Other." And please remain standing for our congregational covenant.
As Unitarian Universalists, we are a people of the covenant. Our covenants are the center of our faith, the promises we make to each other, for we often say that we are a promise-making, promise-breaking, promise-remaking people. And we come here week after week to remake the promises we have covenanted with each other. So I invite you to join with me in speaking the covenant of this congregation. As a free congregation, we promise to one another our mutual trust and support. To create beloved community, we promise to be kinder to each other than we have to be, to listen fully to each other with an open mind and heart, to speak responsibly and respectfully, and to find ways to improve our church and all members and friends. Please be seated. I have a short announcement on the pledge drive.
Sure.
Before we do the call for our weekly shared plate, I want to give you an update on our pledge drive. We are up to $733,000. Okay? We are $44,000 away from our goal. And we still have some people who have not pledged. So please do make your pledges. It is making a difference. And I also want to thank all of you who are making those phone calls, those valuable phone calls, and all of those of you who have generously received those phone calls to remind people to please hand in their pledge. Thank you so much. We're not quite there yet, so we're going to keep on keeping on. And I'm going to call Karen forward for the offering.
Each week, we share our offertory with a community organization that reflects our values and commitment to service. And this month, we are sharing our plate with Midtown Community Services, and I think this may be the first year. Is this the first year? So I'm very excited that we have Barbara Schaefer with us this morning, and she is going to come up and tell us a little bit about this wonderful organization.
Good morning. My name is Barbara Schaefer, and I'm the Executive Director of Midtown Community Services. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the complete honor of being this month's shared plate recipient. Midtown has been a part of the St. Louis community since 1982, rooted in the Forest Park Southeast neighborhood, commonly known as the Grove. Our neighborhood has changed a great deal over the decades, and we're still here. We envision a world where everyone can have access and connections and resources needed to realize their full potential. As we work towards this vision every single day by providing a nurturing, peaceful center where individuals, families, and especially children can grow and build community together. What makes Midtown distinctive is that we serve every generation. Our Family Canvas program supports young families, nurturing healthy parenting, well-being, and helping parents find fulfilling careers and financial stability. In a city with heartbreakingly high infant and maternal mortality rates, this work is life-saving. Our youth development programs, after-school, teen club, and our summer camp foster learning, positive conflict resolution, job readiness, and relationship building for kids ages 5 to 18. Our senior programming, our Midtown Mamas, and our men's club helps older adults make meaningful connections with one another and their communities, easing isolation that so quietly can harm their health. And our Midtown Community Farm grows fresh produce for those in need while serving as an outdoor classroom for our kids and our families. Today we serve many generations of families across the entire region. We're committed to building a diverse and inclusive and empathetic St. Louis where everyone belongs. And we welcome anyone who wants to join our work. We can't thank you guys all enough for allowing us to be your shared plate recipient for April. I'll be out if you guys would like to find any other information about Midtown. Thank you so much.
You can donate through the plate or through the QR code on the screen or your order of service. We practice generosity, knowing that our gifts send ripples of love and care out in our community. May we be a generous people. please join me in the dedication of our offering with the unison words? To the work of the church, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Thank you so much.
I'd like to invite our children and those who are young at heart for our wisdom story this morning. How good it is to see all of you here. I have a story for you. It's called What Do You Do with a Chance? And if you want to see the pictures here, come close. And if you want to see the pictures from up there, turn around because you can see them on the screen. This is a story by Kobe Yamada, illustrated by May Bessam. One day, I got a chance. It just seemed to show up. It acted like it knew me, as if it wanted something. I didn't know why it was here. What do you do with a chance? I wondered. It fluttered around me, it brushed up against me, it circled me as if it wanted me to grab it. I started to reach for it, but I was unsure and pulled back. So it flew away. I thought about it a lot. I wished I had taken my chance. I realized that I wanted it, but I still didn't know if I had the courage. When another chance came around, I wasn't so sure, but I decided to try. I went to reach for it, but missed and fell. I was embarrassed. I felt foolish. It seemed like everyone was looking at me, and I decided I never wanted to feel this way again. So after that, whenever a chance came along, I ignored it. And the more I ignored them, the less they came around. Until one day, I noticed that I hadn't seen a chance in quite a while. It was as if they had all disappeared, and I started to worry, what if I don't get another chance? I know I acted like I didn't care, but the truth was I did. I still wanted to take a chance, but I was afraid, and I wasn't sure if I would ever be brave enough. And then I thought, maybe I don't have to be brave all the time. Maybe I just need to be brave for a little while at the right time. I realized it was up to me. I promised myself that if I ever got another chance, I wasn't going to hold back. If I got another chance, I was going to be ready. And then one seemingly ordinary day, I saw something shining far off in the distance. Is it possible, I hoped? Could this be my chance? I had to find out. I ran as hard and as fast as I could toward it. I don't know how to explain it, but the second I let go of my fears, I was full of excitement. It wasn't that I was no longer afraid, but now my excitement was bigger than my fear. As I got closer, I could say that this was a really huge chance. But this time I was ready. As it came by, I reached out and grabbed it. I held on with all my might. It felt so good to soar, to fly, to be free. I now see that when I hold back, I miss out. And I don't want to miss out. There's just so much I want to see and do and discover. So what do you do with a chance? You take it, because it just might be the start of something incredible. The end. Let's sing you off to your classes. It's been a big week, as usual, in this country and around the world. And so in the spirit of all the things that are breaking our hearts, making us afraid and angry, and out of a deep, never-ending yearning for peace, I offer this prayer by Reverend Doug Taylor. I invite you, as you are willing and able, to join in preparing for this time of prayer by anchoring into the earth as you do, centering in yourself as you do. And let us take 3 collective breaths together to bring ourselves as one community, undivided, into this space. Eternal Spirit, from whom all things come and to whom all things return, we gather today as a people sharing our commitment to compassion and truth. Together, despite the record of violence and distrust in society around us, in this silent moment, let us give thanks for the blessings in our lives, for home and family, for faith and meaningful work. We give thanks for our ability to gather in this way as people of peace, people of possibility, people who take a chance. We give thanks. We lift up those places in our own lives and in our own hearts where burdens reside. May there be peace. May there be grace. May there be possibility. May there be support. Let us cry out for the suffering of our world, for refugees fleeing oppression and children haunted by cruelty, for the wars across the waters far away from us, and for battlegrounds created in nearby cities, for brutality and corruption, violence and distrust. O Spirit of life and love, hear our cry. Help us become instruments of love. Let us speak in solidarity with the disempowered and join the voices of compassion and reason for a world filled with cruelty and greed. Let us set aside hate and devote our lives to the ways of peace and justice. Let us enter into a time of silence. Let us speak the names of those we would hold in our care. And let us offer a moment in memory of Doug Swenson, member of this beloved community who passed on Monday. O eternal Spirit, let us encourage peace to grow in any garden it can find. Let us remember the tragedies of our days and commit to building a better world. Let us be emissaries of justice, ambassadors of compassion, in the name of all that is holy. May it be so. Amen and blessed be. And I invite you to remain seated for our next hymn.
We tell ourselves so many small stories about who we and others are. We all, at one time or another, have lived in tiny tales of what the world could be. Part of that has to do with real-life defeats. A bigger part of it is about imagined fear and protecting ourselves. There's comfort in convincing yourself the effort is hopeless. That way, you don't have to try and risk failure, hurt, or disappointment yet again. Maybe embracing possibility has more to do with being able to embrace vulnerability and courage than we thought. The work isn't just about believing in possibility, it's about being willing to endure a few wounds along the way. It can hurt to be hopeful. And if that's true, then it seems that the question this month isn't simply, are you ready to embrace possibility, but who binds up your wounds and tends to your hurt when you risk possibility? And a whole host of clarifying questions spill out from there, such as, who have you gathered around you to pick you up and patch you up when the path of possibility gets bumpy and knocks you down? Whose faith can you lean on when yours grows dim? Have you placed yourself in the orbit of someone who consistently tells bigger stories than you? And maybe most important, have you found a friend or partner that sees more possibility in you than you do in yourself? This ends the reading.
The polls in Hungary opened at midnight, our time, and they are about to close in just a little while. And it's an important election because it's possible that Hungary will no longer be in the hold of its authoritarian, autocratic, pro-Russian leader, and may become the ally that the world needs, that Ukraine needs, that Europe needs, that even though we've broken every promise under the stars, that we need. So I want us to hold in that as we continue to explore the theme of embracing possibility, because I think it's possible that the Hungarian people are going to embrace a new story. Last week, Reverend D used the Easter story to hold up metaphorically the promise of possibility, of new life, of new ways of being, and new ways of loving in every moment. Every religion, she said, is fundamentally about embracing possibility. And I'm really glad that we're talking about possibility now, because we are in an unreal time where we're experiencing possibilities being taken away, or we're afraid that possibilities are going to be taken away, because many of our current leaders have a very narrow perspective on who belongs in this country and how we as a people take care of each other. There is so much harm being done. But in times like these, one form of resistance is to have the courage to refuse to have a doomsday attitude about our present or our future. One form of resistance is to courageously embrace possibility. And that's what we're going to be working on the rest of this month, embracing possibility in the large scale, like I'm going to talk about today, in terms of what's going on in the international community, but also about what's going on in your neighborhood, in your family, in your spirit, in your most important personal relationships. We can't afford to be pessimistic, even when things get worse. Everything we have today is because people experienced harm in their own time and never stopped embracing possibility. It's why a queer person like me can be in this pulpit. It's why women are able to vote. It's why we have a Civil Rights Act. It's why we have RuPaul's Drag Race, for heaven's sakes, right? The courage to embrace possibility. And today I want to tell a small part of a story that started 81 years ago and is still being told. And there's nothing inevitable about how this story might unfold. And it's a story I know you have been waiting to hear: the history of NATO. Yeah, I am going to find a way to make this fun. But it's actually also very serious, because this week our government threatened to leave the North American Treaty Organization that formed after World War II between Western European countries, Canada, and the United States. Our president threatened to cut off all American funds to NATO while declaring that the U.S. would never approve Ukraine's entry into NATO. And as usual, it's a mixed message. We're leaving, but hey, NATO's never joining, and by the way, we're also cutting off your funds. If the U.S. follows through, it will be a game changer. And even though it feels so far away, all these ideas and these large global arrangements, we know that it does affect every moment of our lives. Every time we go to the gas pump, every time we go to the grocery store, every time as a business person you're paying more tariffs for the products that you want to sell and passing that on to customers because you got to pay your bills, right? So these arrangements do impact every moment of our lives, even though they're very large and sometimes very incomprehensible and very overwhelming. So NATO was formed in 1949 for one big reason. With millions of deaths, actually about 80 million deaths through 2 world wars, there was a strong motivation to live into the possibility of an enduring peace. So creating the means to keep a peace that would last, that you could count on, that would ensure we would never have another war was so important. So the original countries entered into an agreement that they would not turn on each other, that they would provide mutual defense against aggression from other nations, especially communist Russia, that was expanding and becoming a superpower. Now, the Allies and Russia had suspended their enmity during World War II because they had the same enemy, right? Germany was a common enemy, and they had to work together to bring it down. But then once Germany was no longer the enemy, those old rivalries, they went back on as if they'd never stopped. And they were rushing against each other. And communist Russia, their goal was to expand. And there was a fear that Russia could start the next world war. So they came together to try and pool their resources, to rebuild their militaries, and to be there for each other against this threat. But one thing they agreed on was that West Germany would not have a seat at the table. After World War II, the German army was dismantled, the country was split between the Soviet Union and the West, and Germany would never gain the power to start another world war. But by the mid-1950s, West Germany was having an economic boom because all the money that we were feeding into it for its recovery. And it shared a border with Eastern Europe, which was now becoming the Eastern Bloc, which is becoming communist. So negotiations started to bring West Germany into NATO and allow it to partially rebuild its military. Now, you think this would be welcomed by Germans as a step towards normalcy, towards regaining respect and trustworthiness. That was not the case, actually. Most Germans did not want to join NATO, and they worked extremely hard to stop that from happening. And this is the part of NATO's story that I think gives us so much, because in the resistance to joining NATO, we see the people of a battered country telling themselves different stories about who they are now, just like in our reading, right? You embrace possibility by telling yourselves different stories about who you are, how you got there, and where you need to go now. And in this battered country, people were embracing possibilities and rejecting others in all kinds of ways, all in the hope of regaining some kind of wholeness, some kind of hope, some kind of self-respect, some kind of dignity given what they had done. So here are some of the stories that they told themselves. We don't trust our government to lead us, to not lead us back into war. I don't trust anything any government says. Anything can be propaganda. So when my government tells me to support joining NATO, I don't trust it. Why should I trust anything? We've been lied to by ruler and leader after leader after leader. So no way, we are not doing this. We're not doing this, especially if it means partially rearming. I don't trust my country with weapons. That was one story. This was a country traumatized by its own cruelty, traumatized by its defeat, traumatized from the occupation, traumatized from the massive loss of life, traumatized by propaganda that had groomed them for war. And having one more leader tell them it was necessary to build up their military, they'd been down that road before. They'd embraced that possibility and been brought down by it. So the answer was no way. Not on our watch. And it really leads to, some questions. We can learn from this example, because what does possibility look like? What does it mean to embrace possibility when you've been both the perpetrator and the victim of harm? And we are all both the perpetrators and the victims of harm, whether it is systemically, through our laws, through our governments, through the prison-industrial complex, through all kinds of ways. We are, and also as one of the most powerful countries in the world, we've done a lot of harm in our name. Our taxes have paid for a lot of harm. So we're both the perpetrators and the victims. And so embracing possibility in West Germany meant relearning what it meant to be human. Embracing possibility meant relearning who deserved to be trusted, to be careful with your trust. It meant relearning how to trust yourself. It meant finding a new way to pursue security that didn't lead to war. This is what was going on in Germany in the 1950s, West Germany in the 1950s. There was also, would you be surprised to know, a massive pacifist movement in West Germany in the 50s. And when the possibility of joining NATO was brought before them, there were massive rearmament protests in the thousands. The West German pacifist movement wanted to claim new possibilities for what it meant to be a nation by unleashing a radically different understanding of power. Not power over, but of power with. And that's something we talk about all the time in this faith. Power with, rather than power over, because we are a people of covenant. We are a people of promises, always looking for how we live in community in responsible, ethical, healthy, loving, fruitful ways. They were asking the same question. And in the minds of the pacifists, joining NATO and rearming was about an old, destructive way of thinking. Peace through rearming was not peace. So they were against it. And then there was a different kind of story, because joining NATO felt like giving up on a unified Germany. Right? So the strongest, most punitive action taken against Germany was splitting it. One side belonged to the West, one side belonged to the East. And there was so much brokenheartedness over this, so much loss. And there was a fear that if Germany joined the Cold War, and that would be happening if they joined NATO, they were kissing away any chance of being a nation again. So embracing possibility for them meant staying neutral and not antagonizing Russia in the hopes that they could negotiate a reunited Germany. And then there were also the millions of refugees from Eastern Europe who were still in Germany because their countries had become communist. They didn't want the door closed either. They wanted negotiations so they could go home, back to them, back to their families, back to their towns, back to their life, and be free at the same time. And they were waiting in Germany for that to happen, hoping that would happen and they could go home. So for these two groups of people, the ones who were grieving a split Germany and the ones who were grieving the loss of home and being in exile, embracing possibility came from staying in relationship with Russia, continuing to negotiate something that could bring wholeness again. Right? Again, we see this as a language of trauma, of traumatized people. When you are separated from one another, separated from your loved ones, separated from your own identity, who are you now? What does love mean now? You know, many of us are having a similar feeling because our country is divided, right? We are experiencing separation from our neighbors, separation within our families. We're experiencing heartbreak and loss and struggling to know, how do I communicate with the people that I feel like I'm losing? And on the other side, people feel like they're losing you, right? They're losing you, and there's this chasm of loss. So it felt to many of these folks in Germany like they were being forced to choose to lose that hope of being one again. And boy, can we relate to that. And then, of course, there's the not so great story of the fact that there were still people who believed in Hitler's vision of racial superiority and German military might. They were all for rearming, but doing that by joining with countries that were inferior to them and that had been their enemies and that had destroyed their country was humiliating. So the Nazis were also against NATO. So you see how many different stories were going on at that time? And these are stories that we in our lives repeat over and over and over again, whether it's on like the macro, big international level as a country, and also like being a parent, being a kid, and being a member of society and wanting to love your family. We live these stories in ourselves all the time, looking for how we can embrace possibility. So this was a time of, who do I trust? Who don't I trust? Who's my people? Who's not my people? Who are my neighbors? Could the countries that warred against us be my neighbor? And can we afford to not have them be our neighbor? And we're still grappling with these questions today as our country, our leaders are narrowing who our neighbor is. We are in a time of narrowing, and it's breaking our hearts over and over and over again. So let's think back on the questions in our reading, because I think they can help us move through this dynamic that we're finding ourselves in. Who binds up your wounds and tends to your hurt when you risk possibility? Who have you gathered around you to pick up and patch you up when the path of possibility gets bumpy and knocks you down? Whose faith can you lean on when yours grows dim? Have you placed yourself in the orbit of someone who consistently tells bigger stories than you? And maybe, most important, have you found a friend or partner or a neighbor that sees more possibility in you than you do in yourself? Embracing possibility is a significant part of our Unitarian Universalist faith because both of our parts of our heritage were about expanding what people believed was possible. Right? So the Unitarians, our Unitarian foreparents, they turned away from the idea that humans are inherently bad and that we need rules and fear to rein in our sinfulness. Our ancestors saw that human possibility is the rule, not the exception. And to live into our possibility, that was a sea change. That was a paradigm change in thought. And then the Universalists turned away from the idea of God as punisher, who decides whether you're good enough or not. And so that's another part of our heritage. So it's like, yes, you're good enough. Yes, you have tremendous possibility. And boy, oh boy, you're held up by a love beyond our imagining, and we're all connected with each other. That's basically Unitarian Universalism in a nutshell, that phrase. And so this legacy of our roots has kept transforming us into a faith where we proclaim that everyone has inherent worth and dignity, that we're made for love, that we're connected to everything that is. And for us, possibility, embracing possibility, is about the practice of mindfulness and self-awareness. Know thyself. Know your passions. Know your brokenness. Embrace your wholeness. And embracing possibility is about health. Health in your spirit, health in your relationships with your family, your friends, your communities, your nation, other nations, the earth, which we're talking about next week. Now, this may sound like pie in the sky because there's so much like corrupt stuff going on. And sometimes we have been naive about what it means to embrace possibility. But we've also embraced the realization that in order to embrace possibility, we can't shield ourselves from all the ugly ways that we dehumanize and abuse each other. Systemic racism, rigid understandings of gender, tax dollars used to fund the military rather than taking care of each other, a political system that privileges the wealthy and keeps building prisons while defunding education, taking health care away from poor people, forcing trans people to give up their driver's licenses in Kansas. Embracing possibility isn't a linear unfolding. It's like stop and go. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, sometimes 3 steps back, and then hard work to get where you were and maybe then go beyond it. So right now, for instance, let me give you an example of what we're doing in Unitarian Universalism. The Unitarian Universalist Service Committee has launched a campaign to fight against a proposed rule that would make it almost impossible for asylum seekers to get a work permit, meaning that they would not have a way to legally earn a living and provide for their families. And this process takes years and years to claim asylum and then to get asylum and then to be able to stay here permanently. And now in all those years, you're not allowed to work. Completely dependent on the generosity of others, if you're lucky, right? So this is just more cruelty perpetrated in our name. So the UUSC has launched a Let Asylum Seekers Work campaign with a goal of sending 1,000 official comments to the Department of Homeland Security. And this is a possibility we can all embrace. In fact, it's extremely easy to do this because during coffee hour, volunteers are waiting for you to come and submit your comment on the spot. They will help you do that or give you information to do it at home. So after coffee hour, look for them in Adams Hall. Now, will it stop the change from happening? We don't know. Probably not. But public opinion polls about the government's immigration policies are plummeting. And so there's this vulnerability now that is starting to chip away at the power, chip away at the legitimacy of this government. So we can make it as uncomfortable as possible to be cruel to asylum seekers. We can do that. So going back to our story, all right, so you have all this resistance against joining NATO from all these different parts of the country. The West German government built a massive publicity campaign, some would call it a propaganda campaign, to protect the fragile peace that was allowing them to rebuild. They said that communist Russia would never return East Germany because Russia's goal was to expand communism and become a superpower. West Germany had to look forward, not look back. It had to swallow those losses and protect itself from Russia by becoming a solid ally within Western Europe. Public support shifted, and in 1955, West Germany became a member of NATO with growing support. But it was a humbler Germany. It was not allowed to fully rearm. There was still the presence of troops from other countries in Germany, which has still lasted to this day. But it was a humbler Germany and a politically weaker Germany. Now, many of us know the story of what happened through NATO because maybe you were part of the peace movement. Because under NATO, Russia responded by escalating its aggression in parts of the world like Korea and Vietnam, and in recent memory, Afghanistan. And then we became a party to the most aggressive armament time ever. It's called the mutual destruction policy, right? Remember this destruction policy? Maybe you were in school when you had to do drills and hide under desks in case a bomb fell, right? How many of you experienced that? You were told, yeah, what's that? What good is a desk going to do you? But somehow, you were saying, this is to protect ourselves. So you had these drills where they say, okay, a bomb's falling. Go under your desks. But it was real. I mean, this mutually assured destruction, and there were more bombs, bombs to destroy the world 80 times over. It was ridiculous. And it took all of our money. So much money when we couldn't even give people health care. Still can't give people health care. So many Unitarian Universalists joined the peace movement for disarmament in the 60s and 70s and 80s. And in that whole time, Germany never fully rearmed, even after the Soviet Union fell. Eastern European countries freed themselves from Russian control, and Germany was finally reunited. So it did happen. It just took a long time for the Soviet Union to fall, and for all those Eastern European countries to be free, and for Germany to be reunited as they had been dreaming about since the late 1940s. People got to go home if it still felt like home. And what's changed? Russia and Ukraine are at war. Some countries like Hungary, who are in NATO, have shifted support to Putin. And our own government is now undermining NATO by blocking help for Ukraine, pulling its funding in NATO. And so we are an unreliable partner. And European countries are building up their military, including Germany, which is now the most militarized country, besides Finland maybe, which does a really good job, in Europe, right? So what kind of possibilities are there to embrace in this instability? How do we take a chance? What does taking a chance look like? What kind of possibilities are there to embrace? I mean, some people are predicting instability, World War III. I mean, we've seen the results of mutual defense agreements and arms races before. I mean, hello, World War I, right? That's how World War I happened. Everybody promised to support another country if they got attacked, and then there's this ripple thing that happened when one duke gets shot. Are we going down the same path? But others are seeing new possibilities. What becomes possible for Europe without the United States at the table? Without our unreliable leaders at the table? Countries are rearranging their relationships with each other, working together more closely, assuming they're going to be on their own. Today is Hungary's national election, and it's possible that Hungary's authoritarian, pro-Russia, anti-democratic leader is getting turfed. There may be even more new possibilities to embrace. And what does it mean for us to be in the country that's leaving everybody else behind? As Unitarian Universalists, our faith is rooted in relationship. It's rooted in covenant. It's rooted in finding ourselves and finding truth. For us, if you believe in God, God lives in the relationships between us. That's how God happens. God isn't a thing. It happens between us when we are in right relationship with each other. So what does it mean to be in a country that is breaking all of its promises and starting wars? It means we have to make more promises. It means we have to make more covenants. We have to make more agreements with each other. The impact of the Cold War has left many of us distrustful about our own country, skeptical about the use of our military, frustrated with our government's support for autocratic governments, angry at the human rights abuses carried out in our name, and this started way before our current president started breaking promises, right? So embracing possibility in these times means being more courageous, looking for the opportunities that we can grab a hold of and letting us let them carry us to even more new possibilities. For us, embracing possibility is the same as it always has, just more intensely. Being in solidarity with those who are most harmed by injustice, learning how to follow, not lead, loving unconditionally, choosing kindness, voting with our values, embracing diversity, facing our own fears and roadblocks so that we don't compromise the power of possibility. Teaching our children to embrace difference, to turn away from violence, to love themselves, to respect others, and to use our voice and our money and our influence and our status, whatever it may be, to work for change. This is how we have always embraced possibility. Let us end with the words of this morning's prayer. Let us, O Spirit, encourage peace to grow in any garden it can find. Let us remember the tragedies of our days and commit to building a better world. Let us be emissaries of justice, ambassadors of compassion in the name of all that is holy. May it be so. Amen. I encourage you to rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, number 6 in your hymn.
Our chalice and share our benediction. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. Those we carry in our hearts until we are together again. of life hold you, may love bless you, and may joy find a place in your days. Love to you all. Go in peace.